Hey everyone out there, my family and I just got home from an amazing trip to Hawaii where we did a bunch of foil surfing, and I wanted to tell you all about it, so here we go. So landed in Honolulu, was able to pick up the rental car, strap the bag down to the roof with the board and the foil in it, and then drove a short drive over to Honolulu. The day we arrived in Honolulu, there was a pretty big swell. The waves were head high plus, and I remember that first wave that I caught. I caught the wave, I went down the face, I made my turn, and then I remember thinking, whoa, these waves have a lot more power to them. And it was kind of a shocking revelation, the difference between a Hawaiian wave and just our Southern California waves. It took some getting used to. The next day, met up with Daniel, and he took me out to a place in front of the hotel, and we had a nice little 2-hour session there. Learned a lot from him in terms of, he was real helpful helping me get lined up, like where to catch the wave, and then also saying, okay, you want to go left here, but don't go too far left because it gets shallow. You want to cut back to the right. So things like that were really, really great. Little tips to kind of make your life a little bit easier. So after that second session with Daniel, I took a quick shower, changed my clothes, and I went over to the Blue Planet Surf Shop and met up with Robert. He gave me a little tour of the shop and showed me some of their great gear that they have there for sale. And then went into his studio, and him and I did a little video together. I'll post the link right down below. Talked about a bunch of different topics, and it was really, really fun to see his setup and see another YouTube creator, and Robert does such a great job with his movies, and I've learned so much from them that it was kind of surreal to be in a video with him and to be chit-chatting about all these things. It was less than a year ago that I was sitting at home in Arizona on my laptop, just like watching every single video that those guys had done over and over and over, and trying to figure out how am I gonna get better at this sport of foiling. So Robert was great. All the guys he's got down there at Blue Planet were phenomenal. We left there and we went and just did some tourist stuff. We went to the Polynesian Culture Center. We went snorkeling at Hanama Bay, which was really great. The kids just loved the water. Once we went snorkeling the first time, then they just took to it, and we were able to get some masks and snorkels, and the kids spent the rest of the entire trip just snorkeling. That's all they wanted to do. Last day in Oahu, met up with Sam and Robert and Daniel and had this really fun morning surf session. I'd never surfed with Sam. I'd talked to him a bunch and interacted with him a bunch online, but I'd never actually surfed with him. What an awesome guy. So one thing about surfing with Sam is it's kind of like going out with a professor of surfing. He's so knowledgeable and he's so enthusiastic to teach people. And after every ride, I would kind of paddle up next to him, and he'd ask me questions about, how did that feel, and what about this, and what about that, and really got me thinking about things in ways that I had never thought about them in terms of riding waves, where the energy of the wave is, because I've always been kind of just stay in front of the wave, and you're always in a good spot. But he was teaching me how you can be on the very top of the wave, you can be behind the wave, and even be behind the wave and slingshot forward into the face of the wave. So really kind of opened my mind to different ways to ride, because the riding a foil is different than riding a surfboard. You have a bigger canvas to paint your picture on, let's put it that way. So I took everything that he said to heart, and Sam just was super helpful. Robert was there too on this tiny little stand-up board, and he was just ripping and doing so great, and all of us were just kind of paddling circles around each other and catching waves and hooting, and it was a really fun session. Kind of again, it was like this surreal thing, here I am, I'm in Hawaii, this blue water, and I'm with all these guys who I've been watching in videos for, you know, for a long time. So to be able to go out and surf with those guys was a real treat. So thank you everybody from Blue Planet for making that happen. After that last session, we packed up all our stuff, headed to the airport, and flew to Maui. So once I learned I was going to Maui, I contacted Dave Kalama, and he was really helpful in getting me kind of dialed in terms of like where, you know, what brakes are working, what brakes weren't. We exchanged some text messages, and he invited me down to this place called Ka'a Point, and that spot changed my life. In fact, as soon as I got done with the first session, I text messaged Dave. I'm like, you just ruined surfing for me, because, or at least foil surfing, because that spot was unbelievably cool. So you get to the beach at Ka'a Point, and you look way out in the water, and there's like all these guys bouncing around on foil boards. I'm like, okay, this must be the spot. So I geared up and paddled out, and it's a long paddle out. I have to check the Strava that I was using to record it, but I would guess anywhere from 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile offshore, maybe even more. And so I get out there, and there's like 35 people on foil boards. There's men, women, there's old people, there's young people. Everybody's on foils. And everyone's just bouncing around and hopping and turning, and it was so cool to see that many foil people. It was so cool to see that many foil surfers in one place, really just enjoying the sport. So everyone was nice. The wave was amazing. You'd catch it, and it'd be like chest high, maybe head high, and it would break, and then it would reform, and it would never break again. So the rides were super long. We're talking 1/2 mile plus rides. And as long as you could pump and stay in front of the energy, it was the longest rides I have ever had. It was unbelievable. And in fact, I got so tired that I would just sit on my board and just paddle it like kayak style to get back out into the lineup. The first session I logged 9 miles. The second time I went out there, I logged 7.5 miles. So definitely got my money's worth. Last day in Maui, I hooked up with Dave's friend Chris. He's a photographer there in Maui, and a really talented foil surfer himself. And he invited me down to the harbor, which was an awesome session. The waves had come up, the swell had come up, and the wind had come up, and so Ka'a Point wasn't working anymore. Everything got huge, jaws was going off, and so we needed to surf somewhere a little bit more protected. So Chris invited me down. Again, kind of surreal. You get to the parking lot, there's Dave and Austin Kalama, there's Alex Aguirre, the owner of GoFoil, there's a couple of race guys there who are pro guys in all the magazines, and it's just like, wow, what a scene, you know. And then there's, you know, 10 other guys, you know, who are just all super talented. So went out there, had a nice session. The waves were considerably smaller than what I'd surfed previously in the trip, and then that's it, man. Then it was go time. Went back to the hotel, packed everything up, and back onto the airplane and the long flight home. So anyway, that's my report. You know, really great trip. The hospitality I received in Hawaii was second to none. Everyone was fantastic. So coming up next, in the next video, I'm heading to Costa Rica to go with my buddy Dan, and we're going to do some foil surfing there. Costa Rica is a trip that we try to take every year, but this is the first year we're not bringing our stand-up paddle boards, we are bringing our foil boards. So we are going to explore there with our buddy Nico, who's a local and a great surf guide, and we're gonna see if we can find some good places in Tamarindo, Costa Rica to foil. So stay tuned for that. So things are good, and thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.